There are only two main components that you need to build a personal brand that actually makes money. And I think that we can agree that you don't just want to have views and a high follower count on Instagram. You want to make money. And for that to happen, people need to see you as an expert. They need to like you, and they need to trust that you are the person that can actually help their specific situation. I'm a creative director for one of the leading personal brand agencies, and I have generated hundreds of millions of views and hundreds of thousands of followers. But the most important part is that I've helped these founders not only get these vanity metrics, I've helped them actually make content that converts people or attention into customers. So in this video, I want to cover the difference between your content strategy and your brand strategy, the two key components, building the groundwork for this brand strategy, how to create your brand strategy and your positioning based on this groundwork, and then how to identify your brand attributes. And then finally, I want to talk about how you can use all of this brand groundwork that you've now done to create a content strategy that will actually make people buy. And by the way, if you want to download this document so that you can work along with me, it's available in the description below and you don't need to opt in with any email or anything. Okay, so as mentioned, you need to understand these two things, the difference between a brand strategy and your content strategy. So your brand strategy are the fundamental principles that you build your brand on. It will help you decide what to post, how to counter position the market so that you actually cut through, and then your content strategy, which is what you post, how you post in relation to what is going on in the market so that your unique value and your unique perspective can get the highest amount of attention and thus the highest amount of leads for your business. The brand strategy is the foundation and it is what comes first. Then the content strategy will essentially build itself around that. Okay, so the first step is building the groundwork. And this is just about having incredible clarity around yourself, your customer, and the market. So if you don't understand the current landscape, the people you're speaking to, or what makes you different, you won't be able to build a strategy that actually makes you cut through and makes you unique. So let's start with understanding yourself. And this might actually be the most important aspect. You need clarity around what makes you special. Because if you don't understand it, you will simply be a mirror of what everyone is already saying in the market and it'll just become in an echo chamber. So you need to understand, first off, what is your offer? What are you selling? How much are you selling it for? What do you actually do for people? What is the outcome that you give for people? Then, and this is of course in relation to your expertise and to what you're selling and to what you're building your personal brand around. So what is your story and what makes that story unique when it comes to your expertise? What experiences and expertise do you have that is valuable? Because if you're not an expert, you won't be able to sell anything of value, because if you're not an expert and you don't have anything valuable to provide, you won't be able to build a personal brand that actually makes money. What is your unique perspective based on your story and expertise that makes you unique? What is it that you can see that others can't see? What is it that you experienced that gave you this perspective on the market? You need to have this nailed down because this is the thing that will make you cut through. And then, is what you're teaching fundamentally good and does it work? Do you get results for people? Are you actually able to help people achieve what they want through you? And so let me give you a quick example. So one of my clients, actually the one showcased here, is a personal finance coach. She helps people build wealth. She came to the US as an immigrant with nothing. She got into college, got a finance degree, and became the head of finance for one of the biggest American corporations. So she is incredibly credible in terms of the financial technical abilities. But her unique perspective is that finance is maybe 20%, 10 even, 10, 20% the technical finance, and 80% the psychological work around your behavior, around your habits, around how you think about money. And she helps you with both so that you can actually do the things, take the action that will grow your wealth. And she's really good at this, and people are getting a lot of value from it. And so this is what we're leaning into in her content and in her entire brand, so that people actually understand what makes Lucy unique and what is it that Lucy can offer that no one else can offer. Okay, this is where we start understanding our customer. So ideally, you want to go as deep as possible into this. I would always start with just the classic ICP demographics. What country are they in? What age are they? What gender are they? What are their jobs? What do they make? Etc. You can even go into the country and then like city. Go deep. I also want you to go deep into the psychographics. So what is it they think? What problems are they experiencing? What pain points are they feeling because of these problems? What beliefs do they have around your thing that is preventing them from achieving success or even taking action with you? What desires do they have? What dreams do they have? I want you to think of all of these questions in relation to your expertise so that you have a clear understanding of who you're talking to, what they're emotionally feeling, and appeal to these things in your content. So if we take the example of the finance coach again, you would need to both understand the pain of not having control over your money. You want to have an understanding of the desire for freedom and not being tied to a job that you hate. And in my client's case, the frustration of wanting to build wealth, knowing that you have to do X, Y, and Z, but not understanding why you just never take action on it, right? Understanding these and putting these emotions into words is going to give you so much clarity around how you can create, around what you can pull in your content and brand to make people engage with you. I would even go as far as recommend that you create out a full written persona, name, specific job in specific companies with a specific paycheck, what they do in the free time, what they think about when they're laying in bed, getting really, really deep in detail, explaining their story, what they experienced to get to where they are in relation to your expertise, etc. At least this is what I've seen with my clients who not only make the most money in their business, but they get the best results with their personal brands because they have this understanding themselves as well. So they also know how to adapt their tonality in the content and how to speak to the customers on sales calls or in sales material later in the funnel. Okay, so now we covered yourself and your customer, and now we are going to cover the market. Overall, we need to cover hooks, topics, and formats. So how I want you to go about this is that for hooks and formats, and also topics, but there's more to topics, I want you to go onto Instagram. I want you to split your expertise into 5 or 6 keywords or more if possible that you can search onto the search engine of Instagram. Then for each keyword, I want you to find 10 creators who are between 10,000 to 500,000 followers. And for each account, I want you to do an outlier analysis. This is where you go onto their account, you look for videos that have 4 times the views as the average view count on the entire profile. So if the average video on this profile gets 10,000 views, you are looking for videos that got 40,000 views or more. For these videos, I want you to write down the verbal hook, the written hook, the visual hook. So the verbal hook is what they said, the written hook is what was written on screen, and the visual hook is what are you visibly seeing in the raw footage and on the edit of the video in the first 3 seconds, which applies to all of these. Then I want you to note down the topic. So what is the video talking about? The format, how is the video structured? Is it a clone video or is it a rating video? And then finally, I want you to note down, why did this video go viral? And then build a thesis around this. Okay, the hook was structured like this. This topic is really relevant right now. This format was really engaging for the topic. And the creator had this really unique perspective on the topic. Note this down for all of the videos, for all of the creators on all of the keywords. So if you have 5 keywords and 10 creators, that's 50 creators. And then if each creator has 10 outlier videos, you're now sitting at a database of 500 videos where you have deep analysis on why the video went viral, and you have a database of hooks that you can use later on. This is really important. Even just doing this on Instagram will give you an incredible perspective of what you can create and how you can align yourself with the market. Now, for topics, I would also go on to YouTube and I would go on to Reddit and I would look at the content that is getting demand, content that is getting more upvotes, more views on YouTube, more comments, more engagement overall. This is how you gauge demand in the market. Okay, last thing, this market research is not something that you just do once and then set and forget it. You do it once, where you do it really in depth, and then you want to do it every single week for as long as you're creating content. You want to do it before every scripting session so that you're always on top. You're always top of mind of everything that's going on in the market. It's difficult, it is time consuming, it is taxing, but understanding this is really the difference between being behind the market and being on top of the market. And I think it's truly, really important to do. Okay, when you have this nailed down, you can start mapping out what makes you unique so you have it in an actual, tangible strategy. So once you understand yourself, the customer, and the market, this is where we can build out the positioning. And this is the interesting part. There are three main questions that you need to answer. What is everyone saying that you do not want to say? What content is not aligned with you? And what can only you say? Let's start with the first one. What is everyone saying that you do not want to say yourself? Okay, so this is the answer to this question based on your market research, by the way, that you've already done. This is what you can use: counter position, one of the most effective strategies in content right now. So you take something the market is saying that you disagree with, and you go directly against that. So if everyone is saying, oh, you need to buy this stock, and you need to buy this crypto if you're a finance coach, you go directly against this and say, no, frankly, this is bullshit. You just need to invest in low cap index funds or low cost index funds because, well, statistically, no one can outperform the market, and the simplicity will make you actually execute on the strategy. That would be a counter position for my client Lucy, because everyone in the market is calling out different stocks, different crypto coins that you should buy. And so this is her using a viral topic and going directly against it. This allows you to speak on a viral topic, but without being just like everyone else. Okay, then there's also and then you ask yourself, what content is not aligned with you? And this might not be for everyone, but sometimes there's types of content that you just don't want to be associated with. You don't want to counter position it. You don't want to be seen with it. You don't want to build that brand association where someone has seen you next to this type of content. And this is content that you just don't touch at all. Well, for my client Lucy, this is talking about specific triggers. She never says, oh, buy VOO or buy this index fund or buy this stock. The final question, which is, what can only you say? What is it that you have done? The evidence that you specifically have? What is it that you have built? What is your experience? What story have you gone through that has created your unique advantage in the market? These are things that only you can talk about in your content, and that will make you super unique and not just someone who's repeating what is already being said in the market. And again, here for Lucy, this is talking about her story as an immigrant who built wealth herself, or her experience as a head of finance in corporate America. These are things that only she can talk about, and that makes her incredibly unique. Okay, when you have the answer to all of these three questions, you're starting to have a very clear understanding of, what am I creating, what am I going against, and what am I just not creating at all. Okay, now we're going to talk about brand attributes. And you can think of this as the emotion that people get when they're consuming your content. So there are three main brand attributes: the relational brand, the premium brand, and the valuable brand. Now I just want to quickly state, none of these are correct. The most important thing is that they align with you, your offer, and the kind of content that you enjoy creating. Because at the end of the day, the best content strategy or the best brand strategy is the strategy that you can actually keep on doing, that you can be consistent with. Okay, first off, we have the relational brand. This is the brand that focuses on really connecting with the audience emotionally. You are telling stories, you are sharing a lot from yourself, and you're trying to make the audience feel close to them. This could be, for example, someone like Jesse Jean, who started the Yap Challenge, or even someone like Daniel Dalen. Then you have the premium personal brand. So a premium personal brand showcases the output of the creator's expertise and knowledge. So this could be someone showcasing their lifestyle if they're a business creator, or someone showcasing their paintings if they're a painter, or even someone showcasing their fit body if they're a personal trainer. So they're showcasing what is possible and the results that have been created by the secrets they have. And this is where you should think of creators like Iman Gatsi or Shelby Sapp. And then you have the valuable personal brands. And these are the brands that lead with information and value. And so the value inside of the content is the entire brand. You are betting on the fact that people will take what you're sharing, execute on it, and see a benefit from doing so. And this is how you're growing the trust of the brand. This could be someone like Alex Hormozi or Caleb Ralston, for example. I don't want you to think of this as deterministic, like I only do valuable, I only do premium, I only do relatable. It's more of a spectrum. How much are you of each? Are you 70% valuable, 20% premium, and 10% relational? Or are you mostly premium and then valuable and then just a bit relational as well? But again, there's not an approach that is better than any of the others. If you enjoy like the aesthetics, the lifestyle of showing the output of your work, you may be more premium. If you enjoy like talking about the details, the tactics, the strategy, you may lead towards being more valuable. But if you are the type of person who loves talking about stories and good at connecting with people and like getting emotion to happen, you may lead towards more relational content. Now, the offer that you're selling does actually matter when it comes to this decision. It's not as important, but you need to think about this. So if your offer has low proximity to you, it means that people, when they buy, how much access do they get to you as a person? If someone buys your supplement, they don't really get access to you. If they buy a challenge like Jesse Jean, where they get access to maybe a video course and a challenge, they don't get as much access to you. And so you want to create more proximity, more access in the content itself. So relational content will help people trust you and get that connection to buy the product or service that you have, where people don't get that. So if your offer has low proximity, you want to front load that relational connection in the content to make people buy. Whereas if you have like a very high proximity offer, like one-to-one coaching, then you don't need the same relational connection in the offer because people are getting access to you when they buy. Okay, so at this point, you understand the market, you understand your positioning, and you understand your brand attributes. You should now have a clear idea of what your personal brand is going to look like. Now, this is the last part where we're going to talk about how you build the actual content strategy using this. And so overall, people are preaching two different types of approaches to content strategy. And I honestly think the best approach is to combine them. People are saying that you need to use the original approach, and some are preaching the outlier-based approach. And usually these people are clashing against each other, but let's just do both. Okay, all right, so let's get into it. So first, the original approach. This is where you start with the analysis of your customer. So you take the answers of your customer analysis that you already did, by the way. What problems are they facing? What expertise do you have that you can actually help them? What stories can you tell that actually resonate with them? So the goal is that your videos simply solve your customers' problems. And then you post many videos, you gather data to see what resonates. So for example, you post 100 videos over 3 months, and then you just look at your top 10% winners. And then for your next batch of 100 videos, you just create those topics and formats. And then you repeat this process over time, again and again, to build a strong content strategy. There are pros and cons to this. The downside is that this takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and you won't really see results very quickly. Whereas you become less dependent on the trends in the market and you get a stronger understanding of your own content and a deeper relationship with your audience. Now, this is where we lead into the outlier-based approach, because this is where you lead with content that is already performing in your industry. You are using your analysis of outliers and the research of viral videos to create your own videos. The way to do this is to do, as I mentioned before, get a list of competitors, study their top performing content, and then note down the outlier research based on that content. This research will give you an understanding of what is performing in the market right now. You have an entire analysis of it. And as you're doing this, you will get your own intuition. You will start to learn what makes a good topic, what makes a good hook format, and what is the language that your audience responds to. So to actually do this, you do not want to copy the entire video. You want to create your own idea. What you're going to do is you're going to go into your sheet of viral videos and you're going to take a hook from one video, take the topic from another video, and take the format from a completely different creator. And then using your understanding of yourself, You are going to create your own spin, your own twist of that video that you just alchemized, so that you're creating something new, but with elements of videos that already went viral, which means you have a way bigger chance of actually going viral yourself. Now, again, don't copy the entire video. You don't want to take a topic, format, and hook from one video and just rip that, because over time, people will only see you as a copycat, as a number two, instead of an actual industry leader. Now, this is where you combine the original approach with the outlier-based approach. So you're going to use outlier research as the top of funnel, the content that gets new eyeballs, that get people in the door. The goal is to get attention, reach new people, and bring people into your ecosystem. Because using proven topics, formats, and hooks is going to reduce the number of attempts that you need to reach more people. The problem is that this content is not the best for building trust or converting that audience and making them want to buy. So for your middle of funnel and for your bottom of funnel, you're going to use the original approach where you're solving problems for a customer. And what you need to understand is that these videos are going to get less views, but that does not mean that they're bad videos. Okay, so you're going to just use the original. So you're going to solve product. You're going to optimize the topic based on the problem. You're going to optimize the hook around the problem and the format to help them understand and solve the problem as simply as possible. Whereas your bottom of funnel is going to be addressing objections that you hear on sales calls, sharing case studies based on what you know. Doing this means that you get the benefits of outlier research that brings a lot of people in the door and original content that builds trust and moves people through the funnel and actually builds connection with you and then wants to buy from you. The last thing I want to tell you is that you won't know what quality is. Your audience is what determines what quality is. The feedback you get from the market is what tells you what quality is. I've tried time and time again where I created a video and I thought, okay, this is going to be bad. It's not going to get very much traction. And then it just crushes. And also the other way around where I'm like, oh, this is such a good video. But the performance is just mediocre. The goal is to build a strong strategy and gather data and just keep learning from the market and not sacrificing what it is that makes you unique. Now, if you want me and my team to build your personal brand for you, so you don't have to do weekly market research, you don't need to understand everything about your customer and all of these things, then you can either click here in the document if you followed along, or you can click the first link in the description and book a call with my team. Thank you for your time.